How can simple semiotic signs visually communicate more complex concepts? How can more complex designs and illustrations be semiotically crafted? I have used a metaphor of blocks and bricks to begin explaining encoding semiotic signs. We all know a wall is not strong if its bricks do not overlap or a binding medium is not used, such as mortar. Let us now cement simple semiotic signs together. The trick is not to approach Semiosis 101 as a training manual. Semiotics does not work like an engineering problem. You cannot hit a communicational problem, then look up in an A to Z how-to book and follow step-by-step instructions to find a semiotic way to solve it. Bish bash bosh, jobs are good. Oh, we are tapping into audience's perception as much as a creator's talent to design or illustrate something to someone. To understand human perception, a phenomenological and qualitative approach is more productive. This is handy as Peirce's semiosis has firm foundations in phenomenology, and the triggering of perception happens through the target audience perceiving familiar qualities. In the first semiotic trigger of perception is through a possible familiar visualized quality. That triggering is subconsciously instantaneous. Sign 1. Possible, familiar, instant. If a visual quality is composed in a design or illustration, it is not on its own. Designs and illustrations are complex visual entities made up of smaller visual entities. Last week we briefly referenced two fresh examples. One was the FedEx logo and the other was an illustration of a pirate by Joey Godoni. Let us return to these two examples to explain how complex visual communication can semiotically be crafted to enhance visual communication. Before I do, I first wish to state I will be deconstructing these two examples through Peirce's semiosis. While both examples are semiotically rich, I can safely bet the designers and illustrator who created them were working through gut instinct and tacit knowledge. This season I have been stating that you all have always been working semiotically. Okay? I will not repeat myself on that point, so let's move on. In the FedEx logo and Godoni's pirate illustration, they may both at first appear simple, but both are complex examples of effective visual communication. One example is typographic and the other is an image, but they both utilize sophisticated semiotics built up from simple qualities. Let's jump straight in at the sophisticated connotational level first, and then flip to look at the sign ones that help visually communicate the deeper meaning. Once you see the arrow in the FedEx logo and the noose in the pirate, you cannot unsee them. They are not just intentional but crucial. The FedEx arrow suggests left to right movement. Communicating movements is crucial for a logistical delivery company or the pirate. The noose emerges from the front of the classical pirate tricorn hat. Notice I said classical instead of iconic. These words are interchangeable when describing social cultural well-known artifacts, but iconic means something else within Peirce's semiosis. So I will reserve iconic to describe semiotic representation rather than classical things. Okay, back to the hat. The quality of how each of the three corners of a tricorn hat join naturally form a whole when the three hat brims are curled upwards. This natural quality of a thing, an existing thing, has now been visually hacked by Joey Godoni into the clear shape of a noose, the ultimate fate of a captured pirate. In these examples, both the noose and arrow are not there. The gestalt of figured ground helps the iconic representation to suggest them. There, I have done it. I have introduced iconic in its rightful place to describe the use of visual building blocks, to possibly suggest the familiar qualities that a real arrow shape and noose possess. The noose shape is formed from both the quality of the natural shape of a pirate's hat and from the suggestion of the brims piping in white. The arrow is formed by the E and the X. Both examples employ negative space to form the suggestion of an arrow and a noose. Both are there in plain sight. Both have to be perceived to be triggered. First you see FedEx or Pirate. That is intentional. That is correct. Then eventually the arrow and noose can be perceived. Additional meaning has just been perceptually unlocked by the audience who makes this perceptual discovery. Semiotically, both examples function extremely well without this additional unlocked meaning. Yes, one is type and yes, the other is an illustration. Both are, at a micro level, merely a combination of simple shapes composited together in certain ways that allow the audience to either read a word or see a pirate. The beard is not a real beard. The hat is not a real hat. The letters are nothing more than marks that form letters that make words that can be read. Can you see where I am semiotically going with this? We can break both the pirate illustration and logo down into marks, shapes, colours, etc. Individually, in isolation from each other, they are nothing more. But once they begin to be combined and then nested with other combinations, they all begin to be meaning bearing. It is in this building up from marks, etc. into more and more complex shapes that the meaning bearing qualities begin to mean more complex things. Back in season 1, I did an entire episode on how Gestalt theory helps to contextualize the psychological effects of visual communication, while semiosis helps to enhance visual communication. Check out episode 1.6 from season 1. Okay, back to the macro building of meaning. At the same time, these marks exist in semiotic limbo. Schrödinger's semiotic, if you will. Each mark, line, shape, colour, stroke, etc. can help form more complex elements. Each of these can suggest a quality that possibly could mean something to someone. Semiosis just explains how this is possible. By building up of these visual communication building blocks into more complex elements, creatives are naturally layering sign ones together. With a mindful semiotic approach, this miscommunication can be minimized. If we frame every micro element creatives make as semiotic qualities, then we can begin to see these marks, lines, shapes, colours, strokes, etc. as iconic representation of familiar qualities, the lowest form of semiotic representation of a concept. Individually, a single quality is semiotically weak at meaning bearing, but in grouping, layering and compositing these together, more complex meanings can be visually encoded. As these semiotic qualities form into stronger forms, the sign vehicle semiotically delivering this further meaning moves upwards in power. As the sign action power moves from the ephemerally simple towards more complexity, the quasi sign vehicle of sign 1 is replaced with a more powerful communicational delivery method. In design-centric terms, the next two signs can be described as sign 2, possible, familiar, mediated, and sign 3, possible, existent, mediated. The semiotic mortar, cement, glue, whatever metaphorical binding media you prefer, that binds the semiotic power to communicate is predicated on compounding 3 facets of semiotic communication together. Each of Peirce's 10 sign classifications, like his semiotic theory, are an interplay between the concept, its representation and interpretation. The way to look at how Peirce defines each semiotic sign power class is to see it as communication power, sign intensity, representation power, concept communication, delivery power, effect on interpreter. Let us end by unpacking this. In the next few episodes, we will flip the conversation to ideation and how semiosis is applied. Then we will dig deeper into meaning bearing. After that, we will look at Peirce's 10 sign classifications in more depth. So this episode has prepared the ground for you by focusing on the micro semiotic building blocks of visual communication. We have now touched on signs 1, 2 and 3. Do not panic if it all appears too technical right now. The upcoming episodes will focus on application. I am just exposing you all to the importance to creators of a semiotic mindset. Encoding pragmatic semiotic signs are a 3-way interplay between 3 power levels of communication, representation and delivery. Bound together, they offer creators many basic, subtle and complex ways to visually communicate meaning. Thanks for watching. Check out the other Semiosis 101 episodes, like and share them with your friends. And hit the bell and subscribe buttons to be notified when next week's free Semiosis 101 episode is published. You can also follow Semiosis 101 on the socials for updates. It is at Semiosis 101 on Instagram and Threads. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.